Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our webinar. I'm very pleased. I'm Bob Worsley, the CEO and founder of ZenniHome, and we're pleased today to have Luca Zambello with us today, who's the founder of an exciting new company we're going to be talking about called Jurny. It's a great software platform we're going to talk about today. And all of you know who I am from our previous webinars, but I founded ZenniHome 3 years ago, and we're aggressively growing and aggressively raising money on WeFunder, as is Luca, I believe. And so we're excited to get started. So Luca, I'd like you to just give you a chance to introduce yourself to our audience, and let's talk about what you're doing. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob, thank you for having me here. And like you said, I'm Luca Zambello, CEO and founder of Jurny. Jurny is a hospitality automation platforms that really helps the adoption of complex technologies by unifying them into a single platform and giving our customer access to cutting edge technologies like AI and automation.
Great. And a little bit of background about you, Luca. You're from Italy, you said?
Oh yeah. I was born and raised in Italy. I actually moved to US about 14 years ago now. I've been involved in the hospitality space just a couple of years after. I came here with really the excuse of studying, but I wanted to be an entrepreneur in US. And then a couple of years after I moved here, I stumbled across the short-term rental industry super early on. Was when at a time where Airbnb wasn't even big yet. And a lot of, especially in the luxury space here in LA, a lot of the rentals were done through brokers. I was one of the first companies that launched a landing page in order to find people online that they were looking for luxury homes. That business did $1.2 million in revenue in year one. So hooked me into the industry. From there, I obviously the industry evolved pretty quickly. A lot of people understood there was an opportunity to promote properties online. A lot of people started moving towards the Airbnb, and so we pivoted the business to a management company, grew and scaled that company to almost 300 units across 5 different cities. And in the process of doing that, I wanted to really automate a lot and streamline the business as much as I could. And that's kind of like how the idea of Jurny came about, because I realized the hospitality industry was so far behind when it comes to technology, and the technologies that were available, they are so fragmented, which are different, very hard to make them work with one another. So that's how we got to launch Jurny.
Well, so you've got Airbnb and VBRO and a whole bunch of people out there trying to do this in a single platform. And what you're doing is you are bringing this all together for the consumer and making it super easy for them to do business on any of those platforms.
Yeah, exactly. And then at the same time, bring in different technologies like, there's so many new things coming up on the market every day. You have things like smart home technologies, like smart locks, smart thermostats, and how do you integrate those into your platform, right? And then if you're a hospitality company, pricing is a big deal. So dynamic pricing. So not only the management of this different platform like Booking.com, Expedia, and Airbnb onto a single platform, but also all the tools that you need in order to run those platforms, but also in order to run your operation, like automating cleanings, guest communications, and we were talking about AI, which is a big component of our platform today, and how we're leveraging the power of AI to actually automate a lot of these processes. Like if you like to give you like a data point, just this year, it's predicted that between Airbnbs and hotels are going to be spending over $355 billion in operational costs and inefficient operation just this year, and just in US, right? So the market opportunity and the amount of money that's being spent to run this asset, it's humongous. It's like over $1 trillion if you look at it worldwide, and a lot of the technology that exists that can already streamline a lot of these operations are not really mainstream yet. And one of the big reasons is because of the fragmentation that there is in the market and how hard it is to make these different technologies work with one another. I think very similarly, I think, in real estate in general is probably pretty far behind. It's very similar to what you guys are doing as well, in terms of
Yeah, a
streamline
pickup.
things and changing the way things have been done for a long time.
Yeah, people can build a pickup truck, buying material. I mean, build a house, buying a pickup truck with Home Depot materials and a skill saw and go do it. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the most cost-effective way to do it. And I think what you're saying, Luca, is these are large, fragmented sectors, and there's $355 billion of operational costs just in the United States to have everybody have their own call center, have everybody do reservations, etc. And
Exactly.
what if they could be consolidated? I guess you're kind of like Elon Musk, making the Tesla supercharger available to all the other car manufacturers now. He's going
Yeah,
to
I mean,
benefit
it's
from that scale.
yeah, creating the infrastructure, and I think that's actually like a really good point to AI. That there's a lot of AI is like so overused today. We had this vision of creating this infrastructure for when the AI power was powerful enough to become a very useful tool for companies. But if you didn't build the infrastructure first, it doesn't matter, right? Because
Right.
ChatGPT is great, but to adapt it to a specific use case and to use that power to a specific use case, you have to have the infrastructure. If you haven't built the infrastructure, it really doesn't matter and it's going to be not that helpful. But once you build the infrastructure, it changes completely the use case. And it's a lot harder for an AI actually to be a generic AI like ChatGPT than being very specific and focused on a specific vertical. If it has the proper infrastructure, the power can be extremely powerful.
So let's talk about connecting to apps like Airbnb. Used to be, you get an API and work a little bit, and pretty soon you've scraped and you can talk to it. Why would someone want to come to Journey versus Airbnb? And how will your interface, your user interface, and everything work? And will there be any latency or any issues being able to do everything they can do on the Airbnb site directly?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think having the real having a very powerful API connection is extremely important, and to really develop a strong connection is the key here, because I think that a lot of people integrate with the Airbnb. First of all, Airbnb doesn't allow anybody to integrate with them, so you have to go through a pretty stiff approval process. But even if you do so, it's all about how well you integrate with them, and their API is honestly one of the strongest in the industry. So it really allows you to manage almost everything you wanted to manage outside of Airbnb, but it's about then creating tools that facilitate this management. So for instance, we talked about right now, guest communication was one of them, of course. So like having automated check-ins, check-out informations, but also the AI that can handle full conversation with guests. Having a place for Q&A for specific properties or specific units, so that the AI knows what to answer to specific questions and really put things into context. But at the same time, you have tools like review management, which is extremely time consuming. Just be on top of reviews, answering negative reviews, knowing how to answer. You have to put somebody that knows what they're talking about, because you have to really take your emotion out when you're answering reviews. And there's even a small operation handles hundreds of reservation per month, hundred of reviews per month. Just being on top of that, it's a full-time job even for a small operator, let alone with a large operator, right? We're talking about thousands of hours just for that. And then resolution is not a big deal. And a lot of companies that have been in the space until now, they have not looked there. They just looked automating the communication part a little bit with automatic tools, but not even AI. So this is kind of an example of what you would be doing. And obviously, we go also all the way to pricing management and having dynamic prices that changes based on seasonality and what time of the year it is and how your occupancy and all of that. So that's and that's the trick of combining all of that into a platform that is easy to use. Because until now, a lot of tools existed, but they were so hard to make them work with one another.
Okay, so now I'm sure you've got a hockey stick going in terms of revenue because you're connecting all these things and people would rather go one place than VBRO, Airbnb, et cetera, et cetera. So how fast is your company growing and how much Airbnb business versus VBRO? How's that looking in terms of revenue?
Yeah, I mean, our strongest integrations, it is with Airbnb. So majority of the business of hosts come from there. But our goal is to become a hospitality platform for anything that is anything from hotels. We already have hotels, but anything from hotels to short-term rentals. There shouldn't be any reason why you would need a different platform, to be honest. And a lot of the short-term rental businesses are now start trying to monetize within the hotel industry and vice versa. So you need to have a platform that allows you to do both. We just launched a premium product, and so in terms of user, we 3x our users in 3 months. So we have into the thousands now of hosts on our platform, which for young platforms is really unheard because technically B2B. So it's having the hockey stick on a B2B business is it's not as easy as you probably know as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're extremely
Hmm.
excited, growing pretty fast. But I think more importantly, we're about to really change how things have been done. And I think the real true potential of our platform is going to show very soon as the AI becomes more powerful. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't consider, but AI doubles in power every 3.5 months. So we're really like the technology is improving exponentially, which means that if you already build an infrastructure, soon you're going to see things that you can even imagine, right? And we're just less than a year away, I think, from true disruption. So that's what we're the most excited about.
So in a year, you think AI can kind of drive itself and things we can't even imagine it will be doing
Yeah,
that
in many
we
ways,
couldn't even have
yeah, in
thought
many
of.
ways already is, but in a year is going to be exponentially a lot better. And if you to put things in perspective, if you take an IQ of 90 or an IQ of 180 are very, very, very different. But from
Hmm.
90 to 180 is just double, right? And if you consider that we're probably sitting around the 90 100 number right now in terms of IQ, if you could put an IQ number for AI. In some specific cases is well above that, but let's say 100. So if you were to double, even if it were to take a year, you're going to have some a very, very, very powerful tool.
Luca, what's one thing that's kind of surprised you that AI's taught you already?
Uh, it's it's just as right now is really as good as you can like you have to think outside of the box to understand its true potential. So it really forces you to think outside of your normal thinking because we're so used to things being linear and things be 1 plus 1 is 2, right? And but here is very much different. You have to think outside of the box. You have to think uh, a way of doing things that have not been done before. It's not regular programming. It's really about and a perfect example of it is like if you think about when you use a prompt, you can go in ChatGPT 4 and then have a very basic prompt, and you're gonna get a very basic answer, very generic that is not that good. But if you
Hmm.
know how to work and create a proper prompt, your end results are gonna be sometimes shocking. Like my favorite prompt is this is what I'm trying to do. Ask me 15 questions so that you understand how to execute that task at your best. Um, and you will see the difference in the results that you're going to be getting.
Wow. So how do you price your units on how do people price their units on your system? I have a pretty good portfolio of Airbnb properties personally. We have on a given night, it could be, you know, five, $6,000 of rental per night. So how would I use Journey on my property?
It's super simple, super streamlined. But if you already have an existing Airbnb account, the connections we developed a one-click connections, so you can just connect your account. You log in inside of your Airbnb account after you sign up with us, and all your information will be automatically imported, and it will be done basically in minutes. So super straightforward. And then obviously, depending on which tools you want to utilize, if you want to utilize dynamic pricing, guest verification system, cleaning management app, then there's some more implementation processes and some more setups that you will need to do. But if you already have an Airbnb account, it's super straightforward. Yeah, and it's
So
very
you'd
interesting actually. Yeah,
so you'd have everything that you have on Airbnb ported over right away. And then, are you telling me that beyond the Airbnb functionality that that was loaded into your system from their system, there's like how much more? Is it 25% more I can do with Journey, or is it 100% more? Tell me what else I have that Airbnb can't do for me.
well, Airbnb main job is being a distribution platform, and so that's what they're great at, and that's what they're focusing on. They have, for instance, a dynamic pricing tool, but that's their pricing suggestions are never going to be what it's best for you. It's what's best for them. And I love Airbnb, but that's the business they're in, right? To make you sure that you're priced competitively, and then
Hmm.
you people would choose Airbnbs over hotels. Um,
Hmm.
so there's not really that many tools to automate things. So you have to do all of that outside, like the connectivity to different smart home devices, like we talked about, smart thermostats and automatic smart locks, where code changes automatically every time there's a guest checking in, checking out, automatic communication, guest verifications, automatic AI communications, review management, like we talked about, and all this different set of tools that cannot be done by utilizing that platform. Then, let alone if you want to connect more platforms like Booking.com and Expedia, you're going to have a whole problem of syncing this information and making sure this information match, and you have a unified calendar that shows you all your property at a glance, and then automatically can manage occupancy on those units. And it
And
sounds
so does the
interesting.
information,
Yeah,
does any information from your platform make its way back to Airbnb if
yeah.
needed?
It's a two-way connection. Correct. Yeah, that's the
Okay,
whole
great.
point. Like if you messaging a guest on our platform, the message shows up on the Airbnb platform, and then automatically, if our AI is answering, that message just shows up on the Airbnb. From a user standpoint, if the user wants to stay on Airbnb, they're only seeing Airbnb. They don't even know you're using this automation platform. They just, in fact, it's in a way. I don't know if you're familiar with the Turing test, but it's when a person talks with a AI and they don't even know that they're doing it. In fact, we've done that already several times, which is pretty good. So from a guest perspective, actually, the experience increases, not which is really cool. But I'm also
So
interested on
one of the big things is cleaning. One of the things, Luca, after people leave is cleaning. Tell
yeah.
me how your cleaning app works. Does that, if you have a fleet of women or workers that can come in and clean after, am I connected to them and I'm kind of deploying them and getting them on it immediately? How does that work?
Yeah, so our goal is not to do everything, but to be connected and have the deepest connection with the tools that allow you to do that. So, like for instance, like for pricing, the dynamic pricing is not done by us; it's done by a company called Wheelhouse. but their whole solution is embedded into our system. Same thing is for cleaning. We've been working with a company until now, but we're about to launch a new integrations with companies called Turno, and they handle a lot of that. They even have a marketplace for cleaners, so people can find cleaners and book them on demand if they need to, or they can manage their own fleet of cleaners if they have a larger operation right there on the app, and it creates automatic scheduling, and then you would have you can build specific checklists for all this cleaning, so you will have a very precise to do. And then when that to do is done, you will receive a notification within our system that that's been done. Is done based on like based on the instruction. They follow the instruction that you give them. And then we also are building a rating system that is connected directly from when a guest rates you, connected to that specific cleaner that cleaned that property, so that you can have a ranking system as well built in the background.
So how do your smart home features connect? And um, if you could wave a magic wand, what kind of controls would you even want to work with?
Right now, we're mainly limited to smart sensors. So things like I don't know if you ever heard of noise aware or minute. Those smart sensors measure noise level, so to make sure that you don't have neighbors or other guests next to it complaining. If the noise decibel are too high, there's an automatic message that gets sent to the guests, and then things like smoke detectors and stuff like that. So all of those are connected. Plus, uh, you have uh, you have the connectivity with smart thermostats, and to control room temperature, we have a guest mobile app as well. When guests want to use it, they don't have to use it, but if they want to, they can use that to control room temperature. We can preset room temperature based on the same guest returning, and then we also have connection to digital locks. All the major brands for digital locks. There's a couple that we're not connected yet, but we will be connected soon. And yeah, so that gives you the ability to, our system actually automatically sends a new code for each guest, and that code only works for the length of the stay of that guest. And if you have multiple access, so let's say that you have a main door and then a final door, that code will work for both doors as long as they are connected to the internet, and you have a smart IoT connection basically.
So one of our features that we have is being able to be off grid.
Yep.
So we use Starlink for connection. Um, but for example, this morning I looked at my utility bill last month in Mesa, Arizona, where we are. We had the hottest day in the history of the world in Mesa yesterday for our temperatures. The high was 119 and the low was uh, in the 80s, and the average temperature was the highest in history for this area. And so, if I wanted to um, really minimize or work off grid, I only used 10 kilowatts of power last month because we have solar, we have inverters, we have batteries. What can you do with your system that would um, help me live off grid?
Yeah, no, it's well, we can help with power consumption because you can technically turn off AC between guests or heater between guests, right? And just turn it on when you know that the guest is checking in. That definitely can help. It's not our core focus, I'll say today, but it's definitely a capability that we have, and it is something that is being requested by especially large property owners, because then it start matter like how much they're spending on a per unit base. So yeah, like we definitely have
Uh-huh.
capability. I would say it's not our core focus, but it's that's the whole point. And I think in future, even by enabling AI to control some of these things, you have that even more automated and streamlined.
So how would multifamily buildings appeal to your user base?
Well, we have
We have a 90.
Yeah, we
We have
have
a 90 unit building we're building, and we have a span panel out of San Francisco, which makes the breaker box all electronic,
yeah.
and there's an app to control everything on the panel. So how could our multifamily building appeal to your user base if we have 90 units in the building and we have span units in every unit? What how could you help us in this particular building?
Yeah, I mean the platform was actually originally built. That's what we were operators in multifamily urban markets. So we operated boutique hotels and short-term rentals in multifamilies. So all the connectivity of like from the main door all the way to final door helps streamline, especially the walking of guests in and out, especially if you have mix between long term and short term. Noise monitoring system, it's must have when you have multi units. So the whole IoT connections is really helpful for that. And then this is going a little bit maybe too much in details, but there's a difference between units and units type. So if you have a single family, it's a unit, and if you're only listing on Airbnb, it really only matters, mainly only matters units. But if you start listing your property as a whole, you're going to have a lot of the units that are going to be identical or very much similar to one another. So you're going to have a lot of two bedrooms that look the same, and a lot of one bedrooms that are going to look the same. And so you can create a single unit type for that list of properties. So all the settings are the same for those properties. Occupancy can be managed better, and I think more importantly, they can be distributed as hotels as well on Airbnb itself as well. It's a new thing that they're doing, but also as well on Booking.com, Expedia, you actually perform better when you're listed more of a as a hotel style than a single property. So
Okay, great. Um, so if you gave an elevator pitch on Journey, what would it say, Luca, to to give you a chance here to kind of summarize your thoughts?
yeah, I mean, really what I said in the beginning is like we are an automation platform. With a vision of bringing complex technology and making them accessible to the industry as a whole. That's our ultimate goal, and as we say, our mission is to bring hospitality into the age of AI and automation. So that's our goal. It would be great to
And you
hear
think that
also. Yeah,
it is hospitality, in your opinion, lagging behind the industry? Let's just say the AI frontiers. Do you find hospitality being a little old fashioned? You go to some hotels, like I'm in one right now, and here's my key. My wife uses her phone. Some places are still giving you a key to get in and turn it in when you're done. So, do you find the hospitality industry is pretty antiquated?
very antiquated. I think everybody is running a bit behind when it comes to AI in general, but hospitality has been running behind for a long time. And yes, like I think that everybody had the experience of checking in and having to wait in line and not really finding any value on that check-in process whatsoever. You just want to go to your room. You've just been traveling. You just want to check in, and I'm still baffled by how many hotels, even like expensive hotels, you have to really wait in line for sometimes 20, 30 minutes. Especially if you go to Vegas, New York, big cities, is like, or during peak of during conferences and stuff like that, is absolutely insane. But that's just the first layer that people see. That inefficiency transfer over to everything. Um, they transfer
Yeah,
over to from the office management, the back end office. Like a lot of people only see the front end office. There's a back end office that is massive, and there's a lot of all those inefficiencies are just as bad in the back end office. So the room of improvement is massive, and I think until now they've not been forced to innovate. But I think what happened is that once you AI is so powerful that when you combine it with automations, you're going to have now new operators that are going to adopt these technologies. and be ahead of the rest of the industry. And they're going to be so much ahead of the rest of the industry that the industry is going to be forced to move forward. So we never had this breaking point, and I think we're right there. And this is what's going to force also the large hotels that until now they have done. I have to give credit here to the short-term rental industry because it's so much more ahead than the hotel industry. Like it's not even close, and still there's massive room of improvements there. But at least the innovation is coming from there. I think that is one of the reasons why we focus on that industry prior to other industries.
So that's why you're predicting that AI every 3 months is going to be so uh, doubling or whatever, that in a year you think we'll hit that magic point where maybe what Airbnb has done but never translated to hotel industry, um, they're so much ahead that the pain will be so great that the hospitality industry will finally have to make a step change in behavior to
Absolutely.
get current.
Yeah, exactly. And the 3.5 months prediction is not mine. Stanford University paper. Just want to
Hmm.
point that out. It's not that I think it's there's a lot of there's massive paper and a lot of smart people behind that statement.
Great. Okay. Well, we're one of the things we're hoping to do is that people, I have friends, Luca, that have a villa in 8 countries, and it takes property management and cleaning, and how do you live in 8 places, right? You have a place in London, you have a place in Rome, you have a place in Paris, and New York City and San Francisco, or Coronado down in San Diego. And at some point, our vision is that people will stop spending those many, many millions of dollars, and they will start to maybe put a ZenniHome in each of those areas. And when they're not there, they can actually do an Airbnb of that property. So it's paying for itself. And when you do want to be there, you just basically block out the schedule so you can be there. And you kind of know um, exactly what the facilities will be where you're going, and enjoy the
Yeah,
country and why you're there, instead of having this big nightmare of property management of many, many homes, second, third, fourth, fifth homes. So how would we use how could ZenniHome use Journey to encourage this kind of, I have a second home or a third home or a fourth home in all my
yeah,
favorite places, and I
yeah,
can afford it because it's $150,000.
yeah. First of all, I think what you're doing is so amazing because I've had in my journey in the hospitality industry and the property management, I always thought that probably the best way to monetize things from this industry is actually ownership. Um,
Hmm.
but ownership is so expensive. So I think you're fixing a massive problem, different problem, but a massive problem also in the real estate vertical. And I wish a solution like yours existed already when I started working in this space because by analyzing data and looking at data, like we understood that sometimes opportunities in the markets are sometimes there's perfect place, perfect time. You want to move in quick, and real estate is everything but quick. So having a solution like that, which also largely reduce the investment, it's amazing. And I think there's a massive opportunity outside of what you said. I'm kind of opening a parenthesis, maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I think there's a massive opportunity for this industry because for the first time you can look at hospitality very differently because of Airbnb. Like before, you had
Hmm.
opening a hotel was not a small task,
It
but
was expensive.
Airbnb can be operated, especially because of a lot of this technologies are being adopted. It can be operated profitably, even with a handful of units. Sometimes even just a single unit. And so I think having the ability to deploy units in different locations in a price effective way, it's a massive opportunity for the whole market. And if you look at it, like there's tools like one of them is called AirDNA, where you can look at emerging markets, and a lot of times these emerging markets in on Airbnb don't make a lot of money because there's not a lot of inventory, and this is a great way that somebody can really look and build the inventory on top of that. So I absolutely love that. And to answer your question, sorry, I went on a long answer. And to answer your question specifically, I mean, again, like our platform is extremely easy to use and it can absolutely do what you talked about. So, and I think I see a big opportunity for our companies working together to create this solution, not just for what you guys are achieving, but combining the two can become extremely powerful.
Yeah, there's a cool company we've watched called Wander.com. I don't know if you followed them, but
Yeah,
they're sourcing or they're buying some of their capital's going toward buying these cliffside, beachside, really amazing scenic places. Have a Tesla waiting, have Starlink for so you can do a work remote in this amazing place and have all the things you would need to get around a car and workspace, etc., broadband. And so we just think that could be a really super cool expansion of what we do. Work on some of these super cool places in the world, but all the software to make it work and make it really easy to do sounds like you could provide to us.
absolutely. Yeah, and it actually would be interesting to learn a little bit more in details. Like it sounds like that the production of these units is extremely scalable and quick. So I'd like to learn more, and I think the audience probably wants to learn more about that. The cost, like how quickly can those units be deployed, and also what type of technologies do you include? What's your approach with smart home technology?
Well, we're trying to, Luca, we're trying to have whatever. When I was the founder of SkyMall when I was 35, we would have a meeting one day a month on the first Thursday or so, like Sharper Image, Richard Thalheimer did as well. And we would let people bring the coolest new thing, the coolest gadgets, and try to sell us on why that should be in the next catalog, the next sequence. And we want to do the same thing here, where, for example, I was just in a shop, a lab, looking 2 months ago at a senior um, monitoring uh, system where there were sensors that could tell you if the person's got out of bed or how long they were in the bathroom. Even had a toilet that measured your temperature and your urine stream, and it could do your blood pressure. It could do a stool sample even, and so you think about all the sensors that could come in the next 5, 10 years, and if those were deployed in a home, in the factory, and we had the kind of technology that you have, just imagine how, hey, somebody has fallen. Someone went in the bathroom 3 hours ago and didn't come out. Someone never got out of bed this morning. Somebody didn't open the fridge today. And I mean, these are all things that would tell you that your loved one that maybe is staying alone in a room somewhere, something's not right, and that we need to send somebody out there immediately to see what's going on. So to me, all of these kinds of technologies, senior care, obviously smart locks, Google Home, blinds that open and close automatically with time of day or direct sunlight. I mean, we're looking at all of this, including atmospheric water harvesting, so that you can get some drinking water if you're remote. We're trying to be off grid with some
Yeah,
units.
that's amazing.
So how do you solve sewer issues? We're the only homes, I think, in the world that are being built with gray water and black water plumbing systems in every home. So
And
your
think about the
shower,
opportunity. Yeah, think about the
yeah.
opportunity of being off grid and running short-term rentals. I think that's the ultimate dream to be able to deploy in almost any location Um, that's the
Yeah,
opportunity is
you have
it's
people.
massive. Yeah,
You have people that go to Amangiri in Page, Arizona, and spend 5, 6, 7,000 a night to be able to feel like they're right in this almost Martian landscape,
yeah,
and get their mind away from everything else that's crazy in the world, and just kind of become so shocked visually and feeling wise that you're in a different world. So
yeah.
that's what you want. You want to be remote where there's nothing, and then how do
That's
you have a
amazing.
comfortable place that is intelligent enough that allows you to live comfortably in an off-grid location?
And so walk me through. I think the a lot of people will be interested in this, like the deployment of these units. Like what does go into it? Like how does somebody say, okay, I want to create this like destination in the middle of nowhere? What goes into it?
Well, let me show you really quick. I'll just share a screen here real quick and show you um,
Should have done the
what.
same for the platform. Didn't think of that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna scoot down here to a screen that shows. First of all, we believe that space should be multi-purpose space, but let me go to a little uh, thing here that shows answers your specific question. First, we only need 9 piers in the ground, concrete piers. A crane sets the first box on those piers. Second box skirts it, puts the deck down. The lid comes up out of the unit. You put your brise soleils. You're done on the front. Solar comes on it if that's what you want. You connect utilities if in fact you're on grid. It takes a couple of days on the inside to do what we call the mate line, and anything that crosses the mate line has to be kind of adjusted, and you're done. You literally move in. So
Wow.
the idea that this could be done quickly and deployed, and imagine these are 28,000 pounds each module with furniture in them. So if you had a Huey helicopter or something, like you're moving a container, a military is moving a container or a tank or something, you could move this to the top of a mountain where there's no roads, and you could literally hike to it or put your skins on and take your skis up there, hike up in there in the snow, and this could be
That's
literally
amazing.
in the middle of nowhere off grid.
And just as a curiosity, how does and maybe it's go too much into details, but how do you manage? Because I know, for instance, uh, when I originally been to Tulum, there was a lot of these hotels were off grid, and now it's changed in just a few years. But how do you manage electricity? Obviously, you talked about solar panels, but like, how do you manage sewage and other things like that?
Well, there's pretty standard things like put a septic system in. The sewer can go into that. But the beautiful thing that we do is with black and gray water systems, we can take your shower, your dishwasher, and sinks, and we can go to a gray water with a $400 or $500 Amazon filter, charcoal filter. It can go to any plants and water, use the water again for some other
That's
purpose on
amazing.
site. And then we've just been working with a German company called Busa Engineering, and they've been doing this for 20 years in Europe at campsites. They can take raw sewage, black water sewage, and with microfiltering and a bioreactor, they can get to drinkable water, which I wouldn't drink, but they can get to drinking quality water. And so we're putting those two ideas together between gray water, black water, and the Busa system. And we think we can build a home in Phoenix, Arizona, where there's not a 100-year certified water supply, and you could literally, for 98% of the time, reuse every drop of water that comes into your home. And imagine how much less water we would use in the world if we had 98% that could be reused for your
Yeah, it's
plants and other
amazing.
things. And right now, we're watering plant today in Phoenix, Arizona. We're watering our lawns and our plants with drinking water, which makes
That's
no
amazing.
sense.
Well, yeah,
So
it's
that's
amazing where you
that's
get
why
like
we're
green.
running out of water. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
So there's a lot to be done there. We're big fans of Starlink. We use Starlink to get broadband remote. We're big fans of PV with batteries and inverters. Again, I used 10 kilowatts last month in Phoenix, Arizona, in the hottest month of the year. I've only used 7 kilowatt hours this month because we're on a solar system, battery inverter, and only tag the grid when you absolutely have to.
Yeah,
So we're going to deploy all these great smart home ideas, all these cool things that are coming, including your software. We think it would be amazing to manage manage your property, open doors, close doors, manage temperatures and all that. Instead of everybody's got their little app on your phone, right? So here's the next app, and here's the security app, and here's the camera app, and wouldn't it be nice if everything was in one place and you could just manage everything from Journey? I think it makes a ton of sense.
I think we're due for consolidation, and anybody can consolidate multiple different solutions. Just streamline, easy to use solution is going to have quite a bit of an advantage. And I absolutely love what you're working on because I experienced it firsthand how complex, especially the development and deployment of building of new units. It's or anything that is as far as real estate, and it feels like real estate as a whole, not just hospitality, it's so far behind. Um, and I think the step to innovation is just going to be all of a sudden because there's been a lot in between solutions, but it's been hard to widely adopt it because the advantages were not so great. But I think when you come in and you can really sometimes three, four, or sometimes 10x improve what currently exists, that's when really the jump happens and things get widely adopted. So extremely exciting times.
Well, and you've got automobile manufacturers that had their own systems and wouldn't use even Apple or Microsoft, and then they slowly adopted, um, CarPlay and things like that. But just think of a Journey a wrapper that every car could use for everything, radio, everything in the car, even autonomous driving or whatever, something more like a Tesla,
Yeah,
and then bring every car up to that standard quickly. That's kind of what you're doing here. You're allowing all these different platforms to look like one thing and be managed with AI and everything and learn and then be able to do that. And what we're trying to do is build homes like cars in factories and
yeah,
have robotics and everything allow them to be flexible without having a certain floor plan.
yeah.
The space should be multi-purpose, and whatever you need it to be at the time is what the room should be. It's a master
I
bedroom, or it's an
could
office,
not agree
or
more.
it's a living room. And then
Hmm.
with technology, people can feel like, well, this is super easy living. It's not expensive living. I can travel the world with my extra dollars and then feel very comfortable wherever I'm traveling that I'm living in the same cocoon of technology, which is what you do for us.
Absolutely. No, definitely. It's extremely exciting, and I think really you guys are going to change the way that this has been done for a long time. So excited to see what's
Well,
about to come.
Luca, there's been some people asking us questions here real quick.
Yes.
So Scott said, I would like very much for Luca to address the direction short-term rental market as a whole. I own properties in Arizona. I have very high quality properties and occupancy is down um, this year versus last year. Short-term rental seemed to have peaked at the end of 2021, early 2022, and is going to absolutely be survival of the fittest going forward. And they want to hear your thoughts about the last 18 months.
Yeah. Um, well, so I think um, it's we need to put things in perspective because like last year was the pandemic was a black swan event, but also last year travel was a black swan event, because you had so many people not being able to travel for so long. And so what happened is that everybody started traveling at the same time, and so you start having like off the chart numbers. And if you start looking at tools like AirDNA, it looked like that the industry was going to grow insane percentage month, like year over year, right? But the reality is that that data was skewed by the travel boom. So, what that caused also, you have a double effect. That one, you had this travel boom. Second, because of it became so profitable last year, a lot of people came into the space, and so you had an increase in supply as well. So you have both coming at the same time. So one thing if I can say is, if you look compared to 2019 data, we're actually following a pre-normal, pre-pandemic growth trend. So I wouldn't say the hospitality is down as a whole. It's definitely down from last year, but again, because of the data was skewed. But that being said, I think that's why people need to be looking into how can you streamline whatever you're doing. You said it right. Sometimes survival of the fittest happened in the pandemic was even worse. But people that really takes automations and streamlining their own operations as much as possible, uh, those are going to be the people that are going to have a competitive advantage. Also, it really boils down to the business model. And I know it's a bit off of a tangent of our discussion, is a bit off topic, but um, I used to like when I built my management company, I was going after a model is called master leasing, which is leasing to sublease, and that's a high risk, low margin business. But owning, it's completely different. If you look at data properly, there's so many markets still, even when you don't have a great market where profitability can be very high. And I think looking outside of the box with solution like ZenniHomes, like that, and the ability to potentially own can very much change the game. So you have to look ahead where the direction going. Opportunities are always going to be there. It's not an industry that's going to go away whatsoever. It's going to keep growing, maybe growing a little bit less, and we're definitely going through an adjustment period, but it's not. It's definitely not the end of it, or the peak of a bubble for sure.
Are there markets though, Luca, that you feel are most at risk, and markets that are best situated to grow?
Well, I think urban markets specifically were the ones that got hit the hardest and the ones that recovered the slowest, but now are the ones that are doing okay, because there's many markets that are actually up and doing great. We see a lot of data like markets like, for example, Dallas or Austin. There's it's pretty strong, but then you have vacation places or like post-pandemic vacation places. You have markets that came out of nowhere. Here in California, you have location like Joshua Tree. Out of nowhere, it became extremely popular, and nightly rates were through the roof. And if you bought a home during that peak, obviously right now, or are renting a home, sub renting a home during that peak, obviously right now, probably your numbers are not going to be great because you bought at the worst time. But if you would have bought it during the pandemic, you would have made insane amount of money. And I know people that they have. So a lot of it is it's timing and looking ahead, and not just looking where the numbers are today, but where they be tomorrow, right? Post pandemic, everybody
So,
wanted to be outside of the cities, away from people. But is it still? It's still going to be a market. It's still going to be strong, but is it going to be as strong? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
so I think you just nailed it. I think you said anything that's kind of a boutique place and away from the city became super hot, and those are going to slow down and
Yep,
get back to market reality, where things like Dallas, Austin, Phoenix, everybody knows Phoenix is lovely for 6 months, and they're here for spring baseball and the Super Bowl or whatever. So that'll settle down into a nice situation going forward. So getting away after COVID is probably a bubble, and that'll settle down. And the
exactly.
normal. routine places that everybody's always gone to, Anaheim for Disneyland, whatever, it'll always probably recover and be just fine. People are
Exactly.
asking how many Zenny homes will be produced annually. Our Page facility will probably max out at 1,000 units out of the current facility, 70,000 square feet. But we're looking to expand there to be able to do several thousand more there. And each new factory will probably be in the neighborhood of 3 to 5,000 units a year. So that's a lot combined that we could do nationally. Um, there's John's asked, this is more for you, Luca. Will people create housing timeshare cooperatives with computer-based residency placements using AI? It empowers us to move around in a network. And I love this idea. We've been trying to think, Luca, of how to create a new, more elegant timeshare model because
Hmm.
people that got into them tried to get out legally, they couldn't get out. So how do
Yeah.
you create, maybe with your tool, computer-based residency placements using AI? How cool would it be to actually create a whole new brand of timesharing?
Yeah, and I think it can be, the cool thing is that it can be built on top of our platform, right? Like we can definitely provide you the tools for that, and we have large project, one large project actually in Mexico. Can't share the name yet, but that's exactly what they're looking to do. A more modernized timeshare, ability to predict when is the best time not to stay at that place. So when the person is not there, actually short-term rental people are staying there and they're making money and they're making cash flow. And actually creating a positive cash flow timeshare for yourself, basically or just a smaller group of people where when you're not staying there is actually creating cash flow, and it becomes an investment property that you can also use. So it's definitely a growing trend, and I think a lot of the technology already exists, but the data already exists. One of the latest integration also we have done is with Zapier. We just launched it, and that allows people to export the data as well, and in real life, like real time, right? So it's like live data, and you can also, so we have companies building their own models on top of our own platform to extrapolate the data that they need for their specific use cases as well. So
Well, I like
yeah.
I like that because it sounds like what Wheelhouse does for you on dynamic pricing. Somebody will
Hmm.
come up with maybe this new AI-driven timeshare model that can just be plugged into your platform, and everybody benefits from it immediately with this super cool cutting edge way of doing timeshares on top of an existing business model. There's
Absolutely.
one more comment here since we're right at the hour. We wanted to remind everyone that Journey is launching publicly in 10 days on WeFunder. You're still in your private period. We've been out there for a month and a half. We certainly would love everybody to support both of our companies on WeFunder, be part of the cutting edge future. Imagine being able to be part of Journey that's writing technology that's better than the existing people are using out there and way better than hospitality offers today, and have that cutting edge thing available for everything. And we'll be looking at this to use this in our platform. So everybody that's moving around between Zenny homes has a seamless software wrapper around a very similar product that they are used to staying in. So anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Luca, anything to wrap up with?
No, thank you for having me, and I'm extremely excited to be working together, and was a great webinar.
Thank you, Luca. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.